Welcome to the Tough Decisions Network for Entrepreneurs. I'm Dan Hanford, and my wife, Danae, and I interview successful people sharing stories behind tough decisions that they've had to make along their journey as an entrepreneur. Before we get started, let's hear from one of our sponsors.
Attention established business owners, entrepreneurs, and coaches. Do you want to make a big impact and big money? Become known as the expert authority in your field and attract more of the right clients. This is J.V. Crum III, host of the Conscious Millionaire podcast, and I want to share with you the 9 proven steps I've personally used to produce over 1,500 episodes and attract 12 million listeners. Download the podcast roadmap with the 9 proven steps to podcasting success. Get it right now by going to consciousmillionaire.com/start podcasting. Again, go to consciousmillionaire.com/start podcasting.
On the podcast with us today is Nick Fletcher with Fletcher Consulting Services. Welcome to the podcast, Nick.
Thanks very much.
Hi, Nick. Thank you for being with us. We're looking forward to discussing some tough decisions with you today. But before we get to that, I want to have you just give us a little bit of information about where your focus is right now as an entrepreneur.
Thanks for having me again. My focus really is on helping businesses to be better at what they're doing with what they have. Really, it's instead of trying to implement something grand and show them something that they've never seen before, is really use the tools that they have to make their businesses produce more for what they're already using.
So along this journey as an entrepreneur, Nick, can you share with us a tough decision that you've had to make that didn't have that good of an outcome and some of the lessons that you learned through it?
Absolutely. I guess on my career, as everyone does, is I learned early on about following what you think is going to be the best option, what you think is, I guess, chasing the dream. And instead of really following your plan, following what you want to be doing, what your goals are. And it was more working with somebody who, even though my gut was saying this probably isn't good, and going off my own course, and sure enough, turning out to be what I had thought. It was an opportunity to work with somebody, and at the time, the people that I were working with, I was on a trajectory that was heading in the right direction. It was following my plan, and then had an opportunity which sounded too good to be true, and took it, and then ended up being what I thought it was not going to be.
So is this like an opportunity, like a business that you were trying to get into?
Yeah, it was. I was working with a broker individually, and
okay.
he and I were working on finding properties. He was really teaching me about the business, learning the ropes, a wealth of information. We had some success, and then I had met somebody who said, "Hey, we're going to take this, and we're going to be filthy rich, and I got all these great ideas." And so, of course, instead of listening to my better judgment, and I went with that. And then, of course, turns out that, they had all these great ideas, but then didn't really put anything into action. And then you end up destroying some relationships.
How long did you know this person before you decided to do this with them?
I had known them for, I'd say, probably about a good 6 or 7 months. And I had been working with the broker I was working with for about a year, a little more. And so it was one of those, you're younger, you're chasing everything, you're going to take over the world, as we all do. And
so what would you say that you do now to mitigate those risks of, making the wrong decision of going into, I guess you kind of do something with somebody that you didn't really know a lot about them, or maybe you didn't know enough about them? What do you do to make sure that you make those decisions, better next time?
Well, really, it's about following your plan. It's about being true with what you want to be doing, with what your goals are, breaking it down as far as, does this fit into what my end goals are? And is this something that is going to benefit me? Is this going to benefit what I'm doing? We all need to take chances. That's part of being an entrepreneur and that's part of business, but you also have to evaluate, am I going to destroy relationships that I've already worked so hard to build? Is this something that's just doesn't sound too good to be true? So you really just need to break all that stuff down.
What was the biggest upset with that particular situation? Was it money that you lost? Was it time, or was it friendships? What was the biggest thing that you lost in that tough decision?
Honestly, I'd say it was the friendships. It was, they all tie together because, of course, when you go after it and then it turns out not to be true, then you have to, you lose time. You lose the time that you've built with the people that you've been working with. You definitely lose money because, then you invest this money and your time and also in the money that I lost as far as where I was going and then what it turns out to be. So, when I think about if I had kept working with the people that I was working with, instead of going that direction, where it would have been, how business would have been. So it's almost like a really awful snowball that kind of rolls up.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's shift a little bit on a little bit more positive light, if you will, because obviously in our tough decisions that don't have good outcomes, we learn a lot from those things, and it's good we go through them because it allows us to grow as an entrepreneur. But let's talk about a decision that you made that had a really positive outcome and some of the things that you learned through that decision.
Absolutely. That also kind of led to, and I appreciate that part because if you focus on just the bad things, you never see the good that can come out of it. At that time, when I think that also everything in life, everything in our choices in our business life and our personal life ties together. So if I hadn't made that choice, I wouldn't be where I'm at now. And as I processed along, then I really focused on, okay, that was a mistake. What do I want to do different? And really thinking about what I wanted to do. And that's kind of what brought me to where I'm at now. The reason I do what I'm doing now is because I think about like my dad. My dad was a builder for 34 years and he was out there. He was running everything. He was building the houses, get up in the morning. He's already on the job site, come home. He comes home after us and he's still sitting at the kitchen table doing his work and, running the business, making calls. And when I thought about what I was doing, it really was to help people like him. And so it was, I even kind of coined this little term about it was a kitchen table contractor. He did everything at our kitchen table. And so I started thinking those are the people that I want to help. And that's where I started working on what I'm doing now. And it's built into a very rewarding career to help companies, to help these people run their business, not be run by their business.
So it's really one of those things that, trying to take some of the tough decisions that you've made along your journey and helping other people and other entrepreneurs, not make those same mistakes and also learn from some of the positive things to be able to help them kind of catapult their career and catapult their entrepreneurial journey.
Absolutely. We all want to help the people behind us and not make the same mistakes we did. You can't always, but you can only hope to, help give them some knowledge and some tips and some help so that they don't fall into the same really big pits that you did.
So, Nick, as an entrepreneur, what are some strategies that you've developed that you use whenever you're facing a tough decision?
Well, it really comes down to the systems. I almost break it down into like a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, really the old pros and cons list, just analysis into looking at, is this going to benefit me? Is this going to benefit what I'm doing, especially with a business? I'll look at it like if I'm consulting with somebody and say, okay, really it's about taking a step back and saying, if you do this action, what are the possibilities that could do to your business? And then is it worth it? Kind of attributing, not getting so granular that you're breaking down every single dollar reaction, but just kind of overall saying, is this going to benefit my business, or is this got the possibility that it could really hurt it? And just kind of using your own moral compass, I guess, in a way.
Yeah. I want to shift here to what we call the trifecta. And it's a series of questions and answers about you as an entrepreneur and some things that has helped you. So first question I have for you is, what is your most favorite technology that you use in business right now, on a daily basis that helps to make your life easier?
I'm a big fan of the systems, and I would honestly say that the Microsoft Office suite, they have a lot of apps, especially if you're a business that is, you don't have a lot of financial gains, you don't have a lot of disposable income. They're relatively inexpensive for a subscription that you can really make your business as professional as people would look from the outside. So they have a lot of tools in there. The Microsoft Bookings, so I use that for people to be able to make an appointment that it can do in my schedule without me having to micromanage everything. It cuts down on the emails, the back and forth, trying to coordinate, so people can just choose what they want relating to your schedule without seeing everything that's on your schedule. So that's really just cuts down on a lot of the time.
Nick, what's a quote that you've heard that's helped you as an entrepreneur?
The quote that's probably helped me the most, it's an old one, but don't count your chickens before they hatch. It's really, and it goes back to my analysis of, is this going to help my business? Is this going to be something that adds to my business, or is it going to hurt it? And, just, I guess just really not to be overly cautious, but just paying attention to what the options are and then going with them.
And what about a book that you've read that has either helped you with your decision making or affected the way you run your business?
The One Thing by Gary Keller. It's somewhat recent, but it's really about getting down to what matters, and it helps with your productivity. It helps with that evaluation like I talked about, but that's a very good book as far as not just for a specific, it's not just real estate focused, it's for any type of business.
And so right now, as an entrepreneur, what's the next thing for you on your vision or your dream board for right now?
Right now, it's building communities. I've worked with business individually, and a lot of them have been asking about, they're looking for people, they're looking for places, they're looking for information. As you look out there, there's a whole glut of information. There's a whole lot of experts, a whole lot of opinions, and really just trying to be a source to help people find valuable information.
Sure. And what's the best way for our listeners right now to reach out to you or contact you or kind of start to follow you a little bit more after they listen to this episode?
Usually through LinkedIn. That's when I'm on the most. That's where I'm posting a lot more on there as far as things that I find, things that I like to just share the information. So if you find me on LinkedIn, that's where I like to put most of the things that I come across, or any tips, information.
Yeah, and I'll make sure that on our show notes on our website, toughdecisions.net, for this episode, we will include a link to your profile there on LinkedIn so people can start to follow you a little bit more and connect with you. I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your schedule, Nick, to be with us here on the podcast. We provided a lot of good, insights into some of the decisions that you made, and, look forward to being able to, share these with other entrepreneurs.
Thank you. I appreciate the time.
Yep, you're very welcome. I hope you have a good rest of your day.
You too.
Thank you for listening to the Tough Decisions Network. Be sure to visit toughdecisions.net to gain access to show notes for this episode and to join our free weekly entrepreneur email, where we will send you news about the latest technology for your business, inspiring quotes, and the latest books for entrepreneurs. That's toughdecisions.net.